Orkidstudio.
Hi. So my name's James. I'm from Orkidstudio. We're a design and construction social enterprise based here in Nairobi. I founded it 10 years ago with a Ugandan girl that grew up here in Kenya, and today we call Kenya our home. The problem that we're trying to address here is that of girls and women's education through design and through the construction that we do. 50% or less than 50% of girls that graduate from primary school here don't go on to secondary school education. And that compounds a massive problem when you get to adulthood and beyond. And so there's a lot of solutions out there, particularly in agriculture, in the fashion industry, that help women build tangible, usable skills to build an income and take care of their families. But for us, we want to go that step further, and we want to disrupt an incredibly male-dominated sector, the construction industry, where there's less than 6% women working currently in Kenya, and about only 9 or 11% in the UK and the US. And so if you tell a young girl that she can work in agriculture, she'll believe you, because her mother's done it or she's seen other women do it. If you tell her she can build this incredible building, she won't. And that's the amazing impact that we're finding through building women's opportunities in that sector. And so the women that we're working with are typically between the ages of 18 and 35. They're often single mothers with high numbers of dependents, and they're all typically on $3 a day or less, some of them even unemployed. And this all started because of one incredible woman, Hellen, that I met 5 years ago. We were building a children's home in Nakuru, and Hellen came to the site and she said, "Can I volunteer to learn the skills that you're teaching these men?" And I said, "Well, actually, Hellen, I'd rather pay you, but I want you to learn just as fast and I want you to work just as hard." And by the end of that week, we had 12 of her friends. And by the end of the project, they became the most highly prized members of our team. Those 13 women went on and built a house for Hellen. We lent her the money. She repaid the value of that house within 4 years. And she's now 5 times their income, and all of her kids are in school. So a remarkable success there, but something that we wanted to build on and take further. The other issue that we're trying to address is within our own sector, the quality of design and construction in rural areas, but also cities like Nairobi. Cities where we're used to seeing scenes like this in Kibera, with incredibly poor quality infrastructure, but where there are buildings even at 10 stories tall or 6 stories collapsing, even in weather like this. And when this happened 2 years ago, the National Construction Authority reported that 58% of Nairobi's buildings were unfit for habitation. A shocking, but perhaps not surprising statistic. So the way that we're continuing to address this is by training more women in the construction industry. We're providing training in carpentry, metalwork, and bricklaying, and we're taking women through leadership courses and trying to build in a more of a rounded life skills approach so that we have critically thinking women looking at the world around them and the design issues they face. And through this training, women like Hellen and the others that we've worked with, we find that their eagerness to learn means they're often become more highly skilled. We found them to be incredibly trustworthy and reliable and very hardworking and resilient. But this is not just about women. We still work with men. And so we try to employ 50% women on all of our sites and 50% men. And Judith sums up perfectly the impact this is having. She stood up in front of 250 of her peers, which is a remarkable feat for a young woman in a traditional community. And she said that the biggest impact this project has created is that all the men around her now looked at her differently. And so we're trying with our team of international and local Kenyan staff to develop a new architecture or an architectural identity that solves problems like mabati roofs in presentation areas to create better, more responsive architecture. And so the buildings that we're creating are built from sustainable materials, locally innovative architecture, which is taking the climate into account, creating spaces that you want to be in, that inspire you, that make you feel things. Buildings that are also safer, and buildings that can impact your health. So I'm going to talk quickly about one project that we've recently completed in Zambia. It's in the northwest region on the Congolese border, an incredibly remote area with very little access to healthcare. And we built a hospital there in the middle of nowhere. And one of the biggest challenges we faced was that the nearest simple hardware store was 12 hours away. And so we designed a building that had 84.4% of materials by volume sourced on-site or within a 10-kilometer radius, taking soil from the earth to create walls and roofs, taking timber from old demolished buildings to create windows and doors, and using sustainable forestry in the area to create formwork. But we also created a lot of jobs. Created 250 jobs, of which 50% or 52% in this case were female. And we were trying to create an architecture that was not just about innovating, but was also about taking local knowledge, local experiences, and local feedback to develop a design that everybody could be proud of, and which would set the tone for a different way of building in that area. And so this is the final hospital. It's a space where during the day the temperatures inside are cool, and during the night they're still warm. The building's been designed for the climate. And they create spaces that the patients and the staff actually want to be in, and that make them feel better day in, day out. And so here's a selection of other architects on this continent or in other tropical parts of the world that are creating incredible architecture just simply by looking around them, thinking and questioning, how can we do this differently? And so from that, I want to leave you today with the message that that's a challenge that we're hoping to rise to. It's a challenge that I know a lot of other designers here are rising to. But it's also about everybody else, not just the designers. It's the policymakers, it's the women that we employ on our sites, it's the men that are currently dominating the construction industry, it's everybody and everyone. Thank you very much.